Welcome to the next installment in my video lecture series in economics. And in this particular video lecture, I'm going to be taking a look at the price elasticity of demand. And this is important because we're going to be building towards calculating the price elasticity of demand, interpreting the results. So you have to have some basic knowledge of the terms that are going to be used as part of this. Also, if you have a good understanding of the price elasticity of demand, we're going to be calculating other elasticities of demand. For example, income elasticity, cross-price elasticity, the price elasticity of supply. And if you have a good understanding of the price elasticity of demand, you will have, it'll be helpful for you because the mechanics of the calculation are very much the same. So if you have a good grounding with this, you'll be in good shape when we go over these other elasticities. As always, I like to give appropriate attribution. So anything that's in quotes comes from the textbook that's listed on this particular slide. A couple of terms that we have to have a good understanding of. The price elasticity of demand is the ratio, the percentage change in quantity demanded to the percentage change in the price. Measures the responsiveness of quantity demanded to changes in price. So that's what we're going to be measuring. We're going to be measuring if we change the price, how does that impact the quantity demanded? And a simple way to remember this is that the price elasticity of demand is equal to the percentage change. That symbol here, delta, is change. It's the percent change in quantity demanded divided by the percent change in the price. A few other terms. We need to know what is meant by a perfectly inelastic demand, and that is a demand in which quantity demanded does not respond at all to a change in price. That means we can change the price and quantity demanded does not change at all. You could raise the price and lower the price, but the quantity demanded will remain unchanged. So it is not at all responsive to changes in the price. And on the opposite spectrum of the price elasticity is perfectly elastic demand. And that's a demand in which quantity demanded drops to zero at the slightest increase in the price. So we could do a very small increase in price and quantity demanded will fall to zero. It's important to realize what this actually looks like graphically. And I've given you two examples here. On the left, it's perfectly inelastic, and on the right, it's perfectly elastic. A perfectly inelastic demand curve is vertical at the particular quantity, which means we can lower the price and the quantity demanded remains the same. We can raise the price and the quantity demanded remains the same. I want to point out these are extreme ends of the spectrum, but it's useful for people to understand these two extreme ends as a building block towards understanding this in its entirety. If we take a look at perfectly elastic, it is horizontal. That means any change in the price will cause quantity demanded to go to zero. So if we raise the price, people will stop buying completely and buy, another product. And a convenient way to remember this is that if you look at the word inelastic, it has the letter I, and you can see here that the letter I is completely vertical, as is the perfectly inelastic demand curve. So a convenient memory tool is that if you're looking to graph something that's perfectly inelastic, make it look like the letter I, make it vertical. Whereas perfectly elastic has the letter E, and the letter E has that horizontal part to it. So if you see something that's perfectly elastic, it is going to look like that center line in the letter E. So that's a convenient way to keep it straight. You will probably be asked to draw a graph of something that's perfectly inelastic. Remember, that means it's vertical and it looks like the letter I. And if you're asked to do something graphically of something that is perfectly elastic, it is horizontal, looking like that horizontal part of the letter E. A few other terms. You can also have elastic demand. So previously we talked about the two extreme ends, and here's two parts that are the intermediate parts of that spectrum of elasticity. An elastic demand is a demand relationship in which the percentage change in quantity demanded is larger than the percentage change in the price. That means For example, if you change the price by 10%, quantity demanded would change by greater than 10%, let's say 15%. And a convenient way to remember this is that if you take the absolute value of the price elasticity of demand, let's say you get negative 1.5, if you take the absolute value of that, the price elasticity, the absolute value of the price elasticity of demand is greater than 1, indicating that quantity demanded, the change in quantity demanded in percentage terms is greater than the percentage change in the price. And something can also be, another interpretation that we can have here is we could have a calculation where you have inelastic demand. And that's a demand that responds somewhat, but not a great deal to changes in price. So for example, if I were to give you a numeric example, let's say we raise the price of a product by 10%, we would have a decrease in quantity demanded of less than 10%, let's say 5%. So quantity is not as responsive to the change in the percentage change in the price. And if you have to do an interpretation of that, if you take the absolute value of your price elasticity of demand calculation, all right, let's say it's negative 0.5%. You take the absolute value of that, so it's 5%. That is less than 1. That means it's inelastic. That means that the percentage change in quantity demanded is less than the percentage change in the price.